Much for coming. My name is Diane Bell. I'm their account executive for a couple different escrow officers here. I have known Cindy, since 2014, I want to say, and she's phenomenal. We're obviously putting on this class to get her exposure, get Stewart title exposure. We would love to earn your business. If there's anything I can do or you have any questions, please let us know. And we're excited. Go ahead, Cindy, take it away.
Okay. Well, when Diane said, hey, let's do this, I'm like, let's do this, because some of the things that I'm involved in, a lot of people don't know about because I've been in the business such a long time. So I take a deeper dive into products that a lot of people don't know about. But some of you guys are not necessarily in real estate, but you are because you work with real estate. And so it's going to be really, really good. Now, Nick, I know you're in real estate full time. To understand what I'm talking about today is going to make your business even bigger, and we're all going to need each other. Okay, so I really believe in sharing business back and forth, and so I want you guys to know about this product, and specifically what we're talking about today is reverse mortgage as a purchase. Okay, so the market has kind of gotten a little bit sketchy because the rates have gone way up, right? And there's yet another product out there that can help you glean more business. So I want to share a little bit about what is a reverse mortgage and then why you would use it and what's the point of it. Okay, so why a reverse mortgage? Well, a typical person in life, our goal is to always pay off our house, right? We're always working. Once we get a mortgage, our goal is to pay it off. And why do people pay off their house? So they don't have a mortgage payment, right? But with a reverse mortgage, the idea is, why don't you keep a good bit of that equity from locking it up in your house and keeping the equity outside of the house, but still not having a mortgage payment? So a lot of people are like, well, how in the world am I gonna do that? And I'm gonna explain it today so that you understand how it works, because a lot of people really don't understand reverse mortgage as a product. They always hear, I have heard that's really bad. That's what I always hear. That's really bad. And I say, well, once I ask them what they think they know about it, it's everything is wrong. Okay.
Yeah, it got that stigma in the 90s.
It does.
Like that.
It does. And people completely misunderstand it. But the bottom line is this. We saw the biggest disaster in 2008. Our country went into a full-on depression, and many, many seniors lost their homes because they couldn't make their house payments. So many people lost their homes. But had anybody who FHA and reverse mortgage deems a senior as 62 years old, because that's what age you have to be a reverse mortgage. I don't know about you, but that's not too far down the corner for me. So I am like a senior, but you have to be 62 years old to get a reverse mortgage. At least one of the spouses has to be, okay? So imagine in 2008, all the people that lost their homes that were 62 years old that really didn't need to lose their homes because they could have been in a reverse mortgage. So why would you use reverse mortgage as a purchase? Okay, here I'm going to give you a typical scenario so you understand why you would use this. So a typical person coming from California, let's be honest, they're selling their house for $1.5 million. Okay, maybe they had $500,000 on a mortgage, so by the time they sell it, they're clearing $1 million. And then they move to Vegas and they can buy a freaking mansion in Vegas for $1 million. In California, it's like a tiny little house, okay? So they'll typically come here and just drop the whole $1 million on a house, okay? But to me, I say, why? And then they're gonna work another 10 years, maybe 15 years. Why would we do that when we could literally take approximately 50% of that $1 million, so call it $500,000. They buy the $1 million house, but they only put $500,000 down, and now they don't have a payment. Okay, so they're literally keeping that $500,000, and what could they do with that other $500,000? What if we put that money in investments and got them retired sooner? So a lot of people don't realize, and by the way, I am also a financial planner, so all of these things together, it's really, when someone works with me, they have the best of both worlds, because a lot of times I can just restructure debt and help people get to the finish line a lot faster. So That's why you would do it as a purchase. But I want to explain on paper, I'm going to give you my napkin pitch on how I explain a reverse mortgage, and then we'll go into benefits and stuff like that, okay? So let's do this. I'm going to just use, let's say, $300,000 mortgage.
Wow, where are you finding that in Vegas? Shit.
I know, right? I'm so old school.
Damn.
Okay, so I'm gonna explain a mortgage, like we're gonna go back to the olden days when mortgage payments were like $1,500. So let's say this is a forward mortgage and this one's a reverse, because there's only two types of mortgages, forward and reverse. So if you have a mortgage now, you have a forward mortgage unless you're over 62 and you've done a reverse. So with a $300,000 mortgage, what happens is every month, let's say you're paying your house payment of $1,500, and month after month, year after year, you're paying your $1,500, and 30 years go by, and your mortgage is now zero. That's because you've been taking that $1,500 and that's paying down your equity. So this $300,000 turns into zero, right? That's how we all understand a mortgage, right? Eventually it goes away, okay? But with a reverse mortgage, same type of thing on $300,000. Let's say the payment is $1,500, okay? But with the payment with a reverse, they don't pay that payment. So what happens? That payment stacks on top. So every month, no payment is made, stacks on top of the loan. Month after month, year after year, and let's say 30 years goes by, what might the balance be? Let's say the loan balance is now $500,000. They pass away. Now, let's say the house is upside down.
It's always 30? Is that how it is? Like this reverse thing?
It's usually.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Let's say you're 62 years old.
Because the stigma, the only reason I'm bringing it up is there was that stigma that, oh my God, they're going to get their house taken from them.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the
And
thing.
here's
People
the
were
number one
outliving it.
fallacy people think. I'm like, the banks are not in the business to take homes away. You know what they're in the business? The number one reason a bank is in business? They want interest. That's all they want. So guess what? There's an interest rate tied to this payment, just like there is this, right? All they want is the interest. So why would you care if you're not making a payment if it's tacking onto the loan? Because here's the thing. Let's say over 30 years, that's a balance of $500,000, and let's say the house is only worth $450,000. So now I have a negative equity of $50,000. Who has to pay that back? That's correct. The bank eats it. Now, let's say it's the opposite. I have debt of $500,000, but let's say the house is worth $750,000. So now I have equity of $150,000.
Oh, so you're saying the ebbs and flows of the market.
Yeah, so let's say the house went up over 30 years in value. It's now worth $750,000. They owe $500,000. Who gets to keep the $250,000?
The bank, probably. Right?
Nope.
No?
The
Really?
heirs get the equity.
Oh, wow. So it's a no risk situation.
It's a no-brainer. You can't screw this up. So a lot of people are like, what? I'm like, yeah. So whoever they list as their heirs they have to sell the house because they're probably not a senior. They can't just take over and assume a reverse mortgage, but they're going to have to sell the house and they get the equity. Okay. But my God, if let's say your mom or dad took this house out at age 62 and they lived to age 102. It's not impossible, right? So 40 years has been going by and now the house is way upside down. Well, you as the child, your parents lived in a home for 40 years with no house payment. They stayed in their home and you didn't have to worry about any issues with that. And now there's negative equity. What do you care? The house gets sold and then the bank eats the negative equity.
HOAs and taxes.
They have to pay that, of course. Absolutely. We're not getting out of that. Taxes aren't going away anytime soon. Yeah. Okay. So that is my napkin. I explain reverse mortgage my 5-minute explanation on how it is. Is this making sense?
Oh, the 30
How it
years
is?
blew my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tell people, it's so sad to me that people say reverse mortgage is bad. And I'm like, bad for who? You know, it's the idea of it is to keep seniors in their home. So I want you guys to see things from a different perspective today. So I want you to kind of walk down this lane with me. I want you to imagine for me, you know, I'm 53. Let's say I'm now 83, okay? I've been in my home. Let's say I bought my home later and I still have a house payment, okay? And let's say my house payment, I'm 83 years old and I have a house payment that's $3,000 and my Social Security isn't matching my bills because inflation, right? So this is what's really going on out there, guys, is inflation is carrying away these poor seniors. They're getting less and less and less for their money, right? Their Social Security stays the same. Social Security is going up, I think, 3% a year, but inflation is up at 10. So there's 7%. These guys are on set incomes. So what is their next option? If they can't afford their house payment and their taxes and their groceries and their income is set, but their bills are rising. What is the option?
Moving in with family.
Do you really think that at 83 years of age, you really want to move in with a bunch of noisy kids and teenagers and somebody else's home when you're the one that raised these people? You know how they live. You know they're dirty. So what I want to say to you is this: think of how you would feel in your senior years when you're supposed to be your happiest, you're supposed to be enjoying life the most, and now you're faced with not enough money. What do you want more than anything? Your own peaceful home, to go to your peace, right? So a reverse mortgage, if I can kill that payment, and at 83, let's say my bills are, you know, $2,000 a month, and my house payment, but if I just killed that house payment,
It'd just be peace of mind.
now I'm staying in my house. Nobody wants to have to move mom into a nursing home or an assisted living facility or anything like that. So more than anything, we allow seniors to have their dignity later in life. And you have to understand, when I deal with people, they are most relieved by this. Like, I can't even tell you, like, when they're looking at options, like, we do not know what to do, and they didn't think they'd be in this place, you know, in their later part of their lives, okay? So I want to just explain how important this is for a lot of people, but so many people don't know about it. Or although here is reverse mortgage is bad, so they never look into it. But now they're moving out and moving into a really crappy apartment. Apartments go up. There's no set rent. Rent isn't set. So even if they move into an apartment or assisted facility, I can't even imagine anything worse in my senior years. I wouldn't want that. So let's just start talking about the benefits of a reverse mortgage so that we understand this, okay? Obviously, no monthly mortgage payments, okay? If you're in a reverse, you have options, and I wanna go into those options, okay? Let's say I have a home that is completely paid in full, okay? I have an option when I go to do a refinance. I ask them, do you wanna just take as much of cash out of your house you want as possible? Let's say you can take 50% cash out. The house is worth $1 million. Do you want the $500,000 in your house? You know, do you want that equity all in cash? Or do you want them to pay you a payment? So let's say out of this $500,000, we can choose to pay them a payment of $3,000 a month. And there's going to be a time frame on that until that $500,000 goes away. But $3,000 goes into $500,000, how long? We've got some many years, let's say 15 years, right? But then at the end of that 15 years, they can either choose to refinance again and pay more cash out, pull more cash out, or there's just no more payment. Well, maybe at that time they've had an annuity kick in and now they're getting money from other areas, but there's still no payment, okay? So we could either do full cash out, 500 grand in hand right now, or I can do no cash out, but pay me a payment of $3 grand a month, or let's say for the next 5 years, I want a $10,000 payment. They can do that. So we can adjust based on what they want, okay? They can do credit lines. They can leave it where, hey, we're gonna throw a credit line, a line of credit on this and we can pull money out later. Or I can do a combination of all of it.
Or an investment property or something like that?
No.
No?
Not with a reverse.
Got it.
Okay.
Well, you were mentioning that at the beginning, right? Where if they have $1 million and
Now, if they take that equity out, what if whatever they do, just don't tell me. Like, if you take your equity out of your home and not have a house payment and you buy a rental, I don't know. Like, don't tell me, You know what I mean? Like, it's like they can do anything with it. It's their money. Does that make sense? But let's say if we want
crossed
to
the line of what you need to be involved in on it.
Well, but here's the thing. Really, it wouldn't matter. I mean, if I know, because I'm probably going to do their mortgage anyways. You know what I mean? If it's an income property and it makes sense and they're looking for income in their senior years and they want to do something that makes them money to keep them going, that's very much possible. As long as they're living in this house 6 months and 1 day every single year, that's considered owner-occ, and that's all I care about. They have to live in the house. But people travel, and if you go 6 months a year, just make sure you're in that home 6 months and 1 month, or 1 day out of the year.
This is on topic, but a little off topic. You mentioned it at the beginning. Say somebody sells something in LA for 1.1, they can satisfy their needs at 650 here, and they have X amount of remaining money. How do I've heard this, I just don't know how to explain this. How do we segue that into investment properties form and stuff? They have some money, they have options. I've heard through the grapevine, reverses is a way we can do it.
Okay, well, if they're moving here to live and they have 650,000.
No,
okay.
say they have 1.1, but they're satisfied with their owner occupied here at 650.
Okay.
So they don't need to use the whole thing.
No, that's true. So 650, what are they left with? 450? Okay, so now we've taken care of their house where they live, okay? And now I have 450,000 to do a rental with, okay? So if they qualify, because now they're not gonna have a house payment, if their debt to income ratio qualifies them with all their annuity income and their, maybe they have another job they're transferring to here, if they qualify, you can do whatever you want with this money.
I don't know, maybe I'm not explaining it right then. I just heard that there's options with.
Because see, here's what you need to understand with a reverse, okay? A reverse mortgage, people will say, well, how much do they need down? I don't know. Are they 62? Are they 82? Are they 75? Are they 95? So it's adjust, you need less down the older you are.
I heard, now I'm completely wrong. What it is it gives you stronger buying power. Am I right about that? Okay.
Yes.
So, for example, if you come with $650 cash, but you can't satisfy your needs until it's $900, I've heard a reverse.
Yeah, so a reverse is perfect because they're only going to need about 60%, so 40%
down.
No, they're 60% down, roughly. It used to be 50. I used to always tell people 50%, but with the rates going up now, as the rates go up, the equity diminishes. So the banks are not in business to give money away, just randomly give money away. So they adjust the loan amount. But I do want to share this number with you so that you guys know what the max loan amount. So $1,089,000 is the principal limit. So figure they could be buying a house depending on their age up to 1.8 million. And then we can loan up to $1 million. So it just depends on the loan to value and their age and all that, the loan amount is always based on the value of the home and the borrower's age. And usually credit is hardly ever a factor. Okay, so I'm doing a loan right now for my girlfriend. Her credit is deplorable. It's like 586, it's really bad. So luckily for her, she just inherited a bunch of money. Her mom passed away. So we're selling the house for 1.2. Mom owes 175. So we're getting a little over $1,025,000, but closing costs, so call it $1 million. and the house is in Palm Springs. So there's, it's a way higher value there, right? But so now I have $1 million for her, and she happens to be 62 years old. But my challenge with her is her credit is so bad, but reverse mortgage criteria says we'll still do it because she's not going to be making a house payment, right? So what I have to do is I'm going to be putting $350 down on a house for her that's $450 here. Okay? She will have no house payment for the rest of her life. She's 62 years old. So she'll have $100,000 equity, but that equity, like as she makes no payment, it'll just add on to it. Okay? But really what I'm doing for her is I'm putting $350 down, so I still have $650 left for her, right? So I'm putting this into vehicles like annuities and other things that will make her money. I've got different vehicles for her that now this is going to be her income on top of. So she gets Social Security. She's going to have no house payment. And so I'm parking her money and I'm going to grow that money. And my job is to double that money for her over the next 5 years. Okay, so she's set for the rest of her life. But I mean, she didn't get massive amounts of money. When you think about, $1 million these days doesn't go very far, right? But the fact of the matter is, most people would be taking out of this million and on a $450,000 house, instead of putting down 300 or 350, they're putting down the whole 450. That cuts into this money. And she doesn't want to work forever. She doesn't have a husband that is providing for her. So we've got to come up with something to assume she lives to 95, 98 years old. Her mom died at like 93 years old. Okay. So the fact of the matter is we all have 40, 50 years of life. We're living longer. Okay. So we have to understand that all of these things come into play when working with someone like me. I use reverse mortgage as one product to get people to their finish line, because that's more money that didn't need to be left on the table. Why would I tie it all up into a home? It's more than that. We've got to have some retirement stuff going on. Okay. So the way I look at this is it's one piece of the puzzle, because I am a financial planner as well. So reverse mortgage is my specialty because I'm working with people plan the rest of their life. So the main things we need to understand is you can never go upside down to where a house is going to be taken from you. It can get pretty ugly. It can get pretty negative. Some of these seniors we're living longer, and some of these seniors are living pretty long. Some of these houses in some areas where equity isn't going up very much, they're dying with pretty much negative, pretty deep negative balances. But when you think about this, if you think about it from a government standpoint, when you look at why would they do this? Well, let's think about it. Let's think of a husband and wife, they're in their 80s, okay? And now the kids need to look at, what do we do with mom and dad? Do we move them into an assisted facility, okay? And let's say we sell the house and there's $600,000. And now we're moving them into an assisted care facility. Now, how much do you think it's going to cost for mom and dad to live in an assisted care facility?
At least. In
most places, that's $5,000 a month for each one. So that's $10,000 a month. That's my burn rate. So in 1 year, I've gone through $120,000. So it's only going to take me 3.5 years to go through this. After that, if that can't be paid, the government's going to have to step in because they're indigent now, right? So the government's going to have to pay for them to live in an assisted facility. So the government has a choice. Do we pay the 10 grand? Or do we let them live in their house for as long as need be? He dies, she's still there. Now she's there another 20 years. It's cheaper for them to leave the senior in their home and eat. Let's say it leaves with a negative balance of 200,000. How long, if they live, could they be paying 10 grand a month until this person dies? It's way cheaper. Well, people say, why would they do this? There is a reason. We just got to think of the housing cost plus taking care of somebody in a nursing home or assisted facilities. There's a reason for everything. So now I would like to leave you guys, you guys have any questions or anything you want to ask more about this? Because it's like, Oh, you know what? And I do want to go over the process with this, just so you know, like how does a reverse mortgage work? So it's very, very different for me as a loan officer when I deal with a forward mortgage versus a reverse. So the very first
Really quick, why is there such a negative misconception? Like, why is it such a negative thing to do a reverse mortgage out in the...
There are ways that you can lose your home with a reverse mortgage, but it's the same if you had a regular mortgage. You can...
Because everything you're saying sounds legit, on point, sign me up, blah, blah, but yet here...
You can lose the home, like they can forward the mortgage if you said, I live in it, and you don't. So kids can be kind of shitty with their parents and use their parents as, you know, they saw this and said, ooh, let's go ahead and put this mom and dad in this, but then have mom and dad move in with them and then they rent it out. That's a big no-no, okay? Also, if you don't pay the taxes on your house. Okay, so a lot of people run into trouble and they don't pay their taxes after 3 or 4 years. Like, it's not necessarily going to be the bank, but it's the tax institution that forecloses on the house, okay? So we need to understand that taxes and homeowners insurance always needs to be paid. So there are, I'm going to tell you, there are loans that I do with reverse mortgage where I have clients right now that pay their HOA dues late all the time. They'll pay them like a year behind. They're this close to getting a lien put on their house from their HOA dues. They don't know how serious that is, right? Or they pay their taxes separate from their house payment, so they pay their taxes late. Maybe, I have one client that he would consistently pay his taxes, like they're due every quarter, but he would pay them like 3 days after they were due. So they were considered late, right? Well, now I have to answer to the bank for that. They're like, why does he always pay late? And I'm like, well, he's paying them like 3 days after they're due. Well, typically what's happened, if you're 75 years old, what are you doing in your life? You're traveling. So he's always traveling somewhere. He's camping or he goes to Ohio to see his grandkids and he's like, oh, it's just my taxes, I'll pay them, you know? So what we have to do is set up their loan where it's a LISA. And a LISA is where we impound the taxes and insurance for them and the bank pays it because they're like, this person is not getting it, that this is important, that because those are the two things, the Clark County taxes and the HOA can foreclose on your house. This reverse mortgage of the lender does not want somebody else foreclosing on your house when they have a first lien position. So that is why people say that. It's not the lender so much. It's when you screw up and don't live in the house or don't pay your taxes or don't pay your HOA that they can foreclose on you. Bank, the last thing they want to do is foreclose on a 90-year-old person. Okay, so that's your reason. It's just people think it's the bank. Because when we hear foreclosure, we think of a bank foreclosure.
Yeah.
But they're mostly tax foreclosures.
Or the kids doing something stupid.
Yeah, and there's a big difference. Like we grew up, you know, parents taking their home and passing it down to their kids and stuff like that. You know, that's how it used to be. Now it's like parents are living hopefully, if they're healthy, older. It is going to cost more. So that money's got to come from somewhere. So it's like people should enjoy their money while they have it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, I put away for my kids and everything, but I mean, I want to live my life, you know, and have something that's like my kids, but with the reverse mortgage, after the house comes away.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and here's another thing. I deal with two types of kids all the time. There's the kids that I hate, that are assholes. Excuse my language. They're recording me. I shouldn't have said that. the greedy children versus the ones that aren't greedy. Okay. So I will typically be dealing with a senior mom, like just she's on her own. Okay. And money is starting to pinch. Okay. And she'll say, I can't do a reverse mortgage. I was leaving this to my daughter. Okay. So then I'm like, trust me, Vera, your daughter does not want your home. Oh, yes, she does. Yes, she does. Well, then I'm like, you know what? Let's get Vera into the appointment. Let's set another appointment with Vera. So one of two things that's going to happen. Vera's like, oh, no, you're not doing a reverse mortgage. This is my house. Like, I'm going to keep the la la la. Or I have the child that says, Mom, This is your money. This is your house. I make my own money. I'm good. Do you. Like, we need to get you, like, this is your money. And then I say to the senior, told you, you know, but I have one of those two types of kids, okay? The bottom line is, and then I say to the kids, okay, your mom is healthy. She could live another 90 years. Are you okay with moving her in with you in 20 years if we run out of money? Because at this rate, we're running out of money at this Y and Z, because I figured that out. And then there's that kid that says, oh no, I'm not moving her in with me. Or they're like, yeah, that's fine. But these are the things that we have to talk about as a family. So for me, I would be saying to my parents, no, 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 this is your house, your money. You do whatever you need to do. I'm good. But there are plenty of kids, you know, there's plenty out there, but for the most part, most people's kids are like, huh, yeah, do that. That's a great idea. Because I have a client right now that they're very wealthy, and he's paying not only their house payment, and I'm getting ready to retire them, but he's paying his parents' house payment, and their house payment's in California. So guess what? When I introduce, in everything I do, we're literally taking, and he makes $1 million a year right now. As he's retiring, he's gonna lose that money, right? And we have to replace it with something. And he's like, how are we gonna do this? And I said, well, one, your house payment is $3,000. Your parents' house payment is $3,000. If I reverse mortgage both of them, I kill $6,000. That's $72,000 a year he doesn't need to make. And he was like, you can do that? And I'm like, yes, I can. So these are all parts of a play. Like, you have to imagine he's paying their payment and his too.
And I think that's the misconception, because that's what I talked to you about. And I was like, I thought the house had to be free and clear.
No.
I didn't realize that there could still be a balance on mortgage.
Because bottom line is, if I had to guess, their house in California is probably worth $900,000. I'm banking there's probably a $270,000 to $300,000 house payment left. Okay, if he's older, they're probably in their 80s, so I can probably get 60%. So on $900,000, I can still probably get them a little bit of cash out of the house. But he's thrilled because that's $72,000 less a year he has to make.
$150,000 a year he doesn't have to make. It's 72 to take home with that tax rate.
But then at the same time, if we can pull out $200,000 and give it to them, that's less money they're asking him for. Because they're always in his back pocket, and his wife is like, oh, that would be so great, you know, because they're, you know, kids know they're doing all right. But there's so many different scenarios that people just don't even think about. They're like, and I really went through, like, this is what reverse mortgage is. And they're like, we love it. Like, we were thinking we're gonna have to take care of mom and dad forever. And now they can just not worry about house payments. That's a huge strain off of them. Okay. What else was I gonna cover that I wanted to talk about?
How much equity does it have to be to exactly to
Well, again, that depends. It depends on their age and the value of the home. So the older they are, the more they can take.
The less equity they need.
Correct. So if I've done, I did a loan for an 88-year-old. Now, he's cute. He married a young gal. She was only 65. It's so cute. And we had to go, though, between the two of them, we had a choice. Go with his age or her, because we normally always have to go to the lowest age of the one. So he wanted max cash out. And I'm like,
He's like, man, come on. Have some fun here.
but the problem is, if we did that and go off his, she had to come off the loan. Well, then if he dies, yeah. And I said, well, you have two options. You can take more cash if we just do your name. But he was like, oh, no, no, no. So we went with her age on their home. So chances are he's gonna go within the next 10 years. She's gonna still have 30 years to go. So that's why they make them go with the younger of the two, because that equity is gonna pile up, that negative equity. So we went with her because he didn't want anything to happen. If he exits early, she's okay. And then, we still were able to pull a good bit of cash out of the house though. He just wanted more, but he wanted to make sure she was protected. So there's always a unique situation going on, but that's, again, to answer your question, it just depends on age and the value of the house. There is going to be a loan limit of that $1,089,000. So, even if their house is worth $4 million, the bank is only going to lend up to $1,089,000. So it could be a situation where that might be 40% equity. The house is worth a lot, but that's all they're going to get because that's the max loan amount on this program. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of this too, because it's not like a normal loan. So with this, I can talk until I'm blue in the face about this whole thing, but until they go through FHA reverse mortgage counseling, I can't do anything with them. That's the rule. So we have to set them up with a neutral third party that does counseling. We have all the phone numbers and we give them a list of like 30 people to call.
Oh, so they tell them all the cons.
And they do it. It's a neutral, once they've had their counseling, and it's about an hour on the phone, they get a certificate that they've had the counseling. It has to be signed by the client and the agent. Once we have that certificate, now I'm able to start the process. Now I'm able to start the loan app and everything. I can't do anything. Well, now that it's slower, we can get it same day, but before it was like 2-week wait, a month wait. So I was telling my clients, go through this whole entire list and book an appointment with as many people as you can, whoever's fastest we'll go with, but then we'd ask them to be on a wait list. So if they had any cancellations that they could get on. Depends on the lender or the organization. It's usually about $100, $200. Some of them will do it for free. If you go through money counseling, I never recommend that. They made one of my clients feel so bad. My clients were so set up financially. And this one lady was like, they had credit cards of like $5,000. Well, they made like 10 grand a month. Like their monthly payment on that was like $80 a month. And she's like, you have credit cards and you're a senior? And I'm like, I said, I will never, ever recommend doing this because they didn't want to pay $200. I'm like, I will never recommend that again. Because when they were done, they were like, we're just like losers. I mean, they felt so bad. I'm like, you're fine. I'm a financial planner. You guys are good. If I thought there was anything going on with your finances, I would tell you. So, so yeah, they go through the reverse mortgage counseling and then I can do the whole loan process. But it's much easier once the appraisal's done. We're going in pretty quick because only thing I have to prove is I need a Social Security award letter normally because they're all on Social Security. I need to know what their taxes are because we have to factor that. I need to know what their insurance is. And
you do a closing just like at a title company?
Yeah, same thing. Or we'll have the notary go to their house, however they want to do it. But everyone that we've done, like all my reverse mortgages that I've done this year and retired them, these are the people that were saying we'll never retire, we're going to be working till we're dead. And I'm like, nope. I restructured and within 6 months they were retired. So they're very, very happy with what they have. And one client, they had never remodeled their house and he bought it in the 70s. So we literally took cash out and remodeled they gutted their whole house. And now she's like, I don't even want to go anywhere anymore because I love being in my house. All new windows, a whole new kitchen. They opened up the room. She goes, I just love being in my house. So she said, without this, we wouldn't have been able to do this. So it was just extra money for them. Like they didn't plan on happening.
They can breathe a little.
Yeah. And now they're out, they travel around. They got a new puppy and they live in their great house and they travel and they're very, very happy. They give great testimonies for me. Because I always tell people, call somebody. I give them other seniors that have done this. And I said, call these people, just talk to them. And they always tell them how happy they are with it. It changed their life. So
I guess a safe number in our head, going back to what he mentioned, you definitely have to have, you have to have a good chunk of the mortgage paid down.
Yeah, I would say plan on putting 40% down. Okay. But considering they want to put the whole thing down,
Yeah, I just, to even consider broaching the subject with somebody is what I'm thinking, okay. Because I have somebody right now, but they're so ass backwards. I mean, they only have about $30,000 in equity, and they're so tight right now. And obviously, something like this doesn't work. So, I brought it up years ago to them, but I'm just trying to figure out who I can semi-qualify for your situation.
Yeah, it's gotten so tight because the rates are so high. So as the higher the rates go, the more the bank tightens up on the equity situation. Because I used to tell people, figure 50%. You know, they could get a refinance, pull out 50%, no problem. And now I'm like, let me check before I open up my mouth and say anything, you know? So, but to me, it's just having one more thing in your arsenal of, you know, because I had one family moving from California. I mean, they were fleeing California. They cannot handle the politics anymore. And they literally, it was mom and dad and 3 sets of kids. They're all married, grandkids and all this. So literally, because I was able to do the reverse mortgage for the parents, and they had enough cash out that they had no house payment, and then they gave the rest of the kids cash to buy their houses. So we ended up doing 4 mortgages. The realtor loved me. She loved me. So, because she's like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with these kids, because they were trying to get everybody here, and that's how we did it. But we happened to do it right before the market went bananas and the rates skyrocketed. So, you know, that's what I tell people. We don't know how long we're gonna have this. This is like dreamland. So, any more questions?
Do banks typically offer reverse mortgage anymore?
Not everybody does.
So if you go to a bank, they'll offer a HELOC usually, right? So,
Well, you can't offer what a client can't pay.
right, but you typically, so you can do like basically what is a HELOC plus a reverse at the same time, give them money and.
Right. So with a reverse mortgage, depending on what the client chooses, they could say, well, I just want a little bit of cash out, but I want a HELOC as well so that I can tap into this whenever I want. So some I design where they get so much cash this year, and then next year they can take it in doses. So I have some clients that are like, yeah, this is what I want, because they want to buy like maybe a travel trailer or something.
Still not helping.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With a reverse mortgage, there's always no payment, or they're receiving a payment.
It's crazy because like on a HELOC, you can take out like more than 80% of your home.
Right.
Or 75%.
But again, that loan to value is going to be dependent on the value of the house and their age. So it may only be up to 60%, but they still have access to that money whenever they want. So it's giving them putting them in charge of everything that they're doing, which they love. And this is the time of life that you want to have more control, not less. So for most of my seniors, I call them seniors, but they're 62 and up. To me, that's not old. I'm not that far from that, gosh. So any more questions before we wrap this up? Well, I just want to close with this. Beloved, I wish that above all else, that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your heart prospers. Cindy Berkland here. Just wanted to say thank you for watching the channel. And if you want more content, just need you to click right here. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, clicking right here. If any of these conversations have interested you, please get a hold of us at cindyberkland.com, or you can reach me at cindyberkland@gmail.com. Thanks again for watching.